today we are going to review two math activity books, hands-on maths for class 6 as well as for class 7. Now, this is a book by Bharati Bhawan publishers and authors are Jonaki Ghosh, Hanif Gandhi and Tandeep Kaur. So, with this, let's go inside the book. So this is how the preface and this is the contents, as you can see. So there are overall 26 very important activities. Actually there are even more activities, some chapters have more, but overall there are 26 chapters, and I have divided these chapters in numbers, covering numbers, geometry, mensuration, and then again geometry. You will also find chapter on ratio and then algebra. So what are these chapters? So we have chapters in numbers, we have chapters dealing with large numbers, then Fibonacci rectangles, number patterns basically here, and again number patterns in intersecting lines, factor and multiple patterns in factorization of numbers, LCN and HCF, exploring lines. This is the start of geometric section, and in geometry we have not only lines, then angle, triangle, quadrilateral, tangrams, polygrams, and then again numbers, we have integers, fraction and decimal. Then we have again little bit of statistics, bar charts and pie charts, and then mensuration, perimeter area of regular and irregular polygons, and then geometry. This is somewhat interesting, exploring circles using curve stitching. We will cover some of the chapters. Okay, so let's start first with this very interesting chapter on Fibonacci numbers. So basically here the student can study the number patterns in Fibonacci rectangles. So this is how the chapter starts. First you have the aim of the chapter. So in this chapter the aim is to study a special number pattern obtained by joining squares, and then also we would like to draw a special curve known as Fibonacci spiral. So here we have got two activities in this particular chapter. Okay, now so what do you need for this? We need square grid paper or graph paper, compasses, and so this is investigation 1, and this is how the steps are mentioned for the constructing Fibonacci rectangles. And you can see very nice detailed diagram over here. Okay, and then regarding the construction of Fibonacci spiral, this is also shown over here. Next chapter is very interesting as well, number patterns in intersecting lines. So again the aim is to find a number of points of intersection of two or more straight lines. Say for example here you see for two lines we can have one intersection point. However, for three lines we can have at most 3 points, right? Similarly here you can see what are the various possibilities for 5 lines. 5 lines when they can be parallel or they can intersect. There are the various possibilities. This is basically you have to draw by yourself and fill in the blanks in these various tables over here. This is very nice, very good chapter. This is thought-provoking for students. Normally the textbooks, both NCERT and other books, they don't have such type of examples because they have to cover a lot of regular stuff. These are somewhat off track activities and they will help you in getting rid of your fear for mathematics. These activities are very important, very interesting. Okay, so now let me show you yet another very interesting chapter, which is the patterns in factorization of numbers. So here you like to, the aim is to understand the concepts of factorization and prime factorization of numbers. This is very important in numbers. And again, we would like to explore factors and prime factors through both factor trees and factor chains. This you have seen in your NCERT and other textbooks, factor trees, and similarly we have got factor chains like this. This is a very wonderful book. They have shown the various possibilities using examples so that students can work it out themselves. And then we have the LCM and HCF chapter, where using Venn diagram they are representing common multiples, sort of Venn diagram like stuff. Okay, common factor, and then you will find HCF from among them. This is important, the representation. There are various examples over here. You can find it yourself. See, various investigations. Next, we have the chapter on exploring lines. So here the aim is to investigate whether a line is straight or not, and to understand the collinearity of points. See, something. And they have got very nice examples here. So in this example you will try to see whether this person, if suppose a person is at this position, so from here he can see the gate or not, from which positions he can see the gate. So in this diagram, if the gate is over here, then the person can see the gate from P, D, N and R positions. So the concept of collinearity. Okay, similarly you can see the thing over here. Okay, next let me show you another very interesting chapter. Okay, exploring quadrilaterals. Here the very important concept of tessellation is introduced. Special quadrilaterals. Okay, so tessellation, or basically tiling. This is very fun. Students can do this yourself. Various possibilities in tessellation. Next, exploring shapes using tangrams. So this is also very interesting, and this chapter, advanced version of this chapter, you will find in the 7th class book. Okay, various investigations, as you can see. So you have to fill in the blank like stuff over here for square, rectangle, triangle. Okay, so now let me show you, let me go towards the last of this book, 94 page number. So what is this chapter about? This is exploring decimals. In some books I have seen such explanation in class 5. This is also very important, how to represent decimal. Then pie chart, bar charts, then perimeter, mensuration starts from here. Using first easy concept using squares, and then later on perimeter and area of irregular polygon. Say for example here, you try to ask yourself whether the perimeter or the area, which one is the same for all these three figures. Then we have the concept of ratio. This is again very practical based activities are given over here. Say for example, you see the plan of an apartment made, scale of 1 to 80. So write down the actual dimensions when you are already seeing the indicated rows. This is very practical based questions. then exploring area of a rectangle through paper folding and stuff. Again, then equations from number patterns. You will find similar stuff in the NCRT class 6 book. Okay, now after this, some advanced topics are there. Again, symmetry and reflection is there. Okay, regarding advanced topic, this one, exploring circles through curve stitching. This is very interesting. You see, circle obtained by joining points at gaps of 10. This is something we have to do this. The entire step are mentioned over here. You have to do this yourself. And that completes the 6th book. So let me start with the 7th book here. The first is the multiplication of the fractions. Oh no, let me first talk about, the contents. First let me show you the contents of both these books. So here you can see the content for yourself, how I have distributed them. So yes, the content of both these books. So here I have numbers 1 geometry, numbers 2 mensuration, and geometry 2 section. Here in class 7th book we have the numbers 3 concept, where basically we have integer multiplication and division, and then multiplication of fractions. Then we have the geometry section. Here Pythagorean triplets and Pythagoras theorem is covered. Okay, then again mensuration little bit. Again you see advanced, exploring fractions and ratio using tangrams. Then again tangrams, exploring congruency. Now this is the geometry section. And then more statistics compared to class 6. And then we have more of algebra, and here we have got even more advanced topics. We have got fractals and platonic solids, and again curve stitching part 2. If this was curve stitching part 1, then this is part 2. So let me show you some of the important chapters. Okay, now, so the first is the multiplication of fraction. This is, in the previous class 6 book we saw the representation of decimals. Right, now again using geometry shapes we are trying to understand the multiplication of fractions over here. Okay, then again medians and altitudes of an equilateral triangle. This is quite simple. Then Pythagorean triplets, then Pythagoras theorem. Okay, here now some mensuration, estimating areas of irregular shapes. You see, how do you estimate? So basically here we will try to, in this chapter the aim is to find, this is important, approximate areas of irregular shapes using square grids. Then next, comparison of these areas, and then finally to understand the need of correct positioning of the square grid in finding areas of irregular shapes. So two state maps are given for which you will try to find the area. See, various investigations. Then again tangram applications, that something that we have seen in previous class. So exploring fractions and ratio using tangrams. More investigations on tangram. This is very nice, very good. This is a very good activity book, also an add-on book. In my previous video, if you will observe the video on the book review of New Maths Today 7, there I discussed about the other two books, NCRT as well as NCRT Exemplar, Now, this one, hands on, both 6 and 7, are also very good add on books, activity books. In your off time, students can do this and get yourself acquainted with more concepts of mathematics. Okay, so let me now move to some more advanced concepts. Okay, yes, the concept of fractals. It is interesting that they have introduced a class 7 student. They have introduced to the world of fractals for just a class 7 student. But this is important. This is not very hard, though the concept is quite complicated. But the way you can always explain a complicated concept to a students, and that needs trick. Here, they are trying to explain geometrical fractals, and in particularly using the Sierpinski triangle. You will find the various ways of constructing the triangles. I am not going into the details. Students can buy this book themselves and look into this. And again, the concept of fractals is again explained using a second chapter. In this second chapter, Koch curve. You see this one. Very nice, very interesting. I have generated these curves using computer codes, but that's an advanced topic for school students right now. But they can do this, at least get an hands-on experience. So graph paper and pencil type of experience. This is important, that at least they can understand that such advanced topics can be understood in a very simple way as well. Okay, so this is chapter on platonic solids. Now let me go to the last chapter. Okay, so this is the curve stretching, the last chapter, 26th chapter. Both books have 26 chapters each, total 52 chapters. And so here we are aiming to obtain various types of curves and patterns by drawing straight lines only. Okay, see here how it is done. It's very interesting. I have recommended these books to a lot of my relatives. Okay, so I wish you best of luck in your study of mathematics with these two activity books.